So let's talk a little bit more about two-column notes. Two-column notes have been around for a long time. I started using them with my students, gosh, back in the late 1970s. And they're actually the way we use them in the key comprehension routine. They're a modified version of something that was once called the Cornell notes, developed at Cornell University, used, I think, beginning in the 1950s. The difference is that Cornell notes, in addition to having your main ideas on the left and your details on the right, always at the end of every page of notes had a spot for a summarizing, and we've sort of pulled that out to make it a little bit easier for students. I'm going to go through the format. The format is very easy. It's the underlying skills that are tough to teach. But if you can take a look at this little poster here, we can see the way we draw a set of two-column notes is we draw a line across that gives us some space to put our overall topic or the overarching main idea or central idea. We draw a line down the page, not quite in the middle. It's going to be over so that we have about a third here and 2/3 here. This is where our main ideas, our big ideas, our larger topics are going to go. And over in the right column, this is where the subordinate information. So if this is a paragraph main idea, these are the details from the sentences. If this is categorizing, this is the topic of the category, and then these are the items that are in the category. So that's the format. It's obviously different than another very common type of note taking called outlining. There's nothing wrong with outlining. It's just a little bit too complicated for many kids. You've got to shift from Roman numerals to Arabic numerals, capital letters, small letters. And the only visual distinction that you get, that you're moving from a big idea to a subordinate detail, is 5 spaces of indent, which when kids are actually writing, you often don't see that. Whereas with your two-column notes, you clearly have your main ideas here. They're very much separated. The details are over here. So let's talk about a few other advantages of this format. First, as I mentioned, it really separates. The other thing is, as you are adding your details here on the right side, it ends up leaving a lot of space between each of your main ideas, so they really pop out at you. The other thing is that two-column note is a really simple way to help kids study. So basically what I can do is take my notes, cover up this side of the notes, look at just my big ideas, and use them to sort of kind of quiz myself and remember what is it in the details that supports this. Or vice versa, I can cover up my main ideas, look at the details and the information and say, what's the big idea that ends up supporting? So it makes for a nice study tool. The other thing is it is a good way to help kids, or a good format to support having kids generate questions about what they're learning, which is another one of the strategies in our routine. So if we take a look at our main idea and we flip it into a question, then much of the detail that's over on the right is what helps us answer that question. And again, because there tends to be space between these main ideas, you can list or write in the question right underneath the main idea and then use the information on the right. Another reason why the two-column format is helpful is once students get to the point where they're taking notes from a lecture, it's a very user-friendly format. And very often when we are listening to somebody and trying to take notes, we don't know what the main ideas are going to be. Even if the presenter is as organized as possible, they may go off on tangents, they may go back and revisit something. And so if we're using a traditional outline format, you almost need to know what those main ideas are in order to line up the page. With two-column notes, even if you don't know what the point is that's being made, you can begin to take your notes in the right column. And then later, when you have a chance to review the information or get that information from the presenter, you can add space for your main ideas later on. So what are some of the uses for two-column notes? You can use them, obviously, when you're taking notes from something you're reading. If it's text that's chunked into paragraphs, your main ideas are going to go on the left side and your details are going to go on the right. You can use two-column notes to take notes on a process. So let's say you're about to do a science experiment. So the first stage of the experiment might be on the left side, and then the details and the materials that you use and what happens in the experiment might be on the right side. You can use it for giving directions. So, you know, the broader steps of the direction might go on the left side, and then the details over on the right. I mentioned already using it for a lecture. You could use it to organize an event. So, you know, very simply, if I'm going to plan dinner for tonight, I can put, you know, my appetizer on my left here, and then on my right is where I'm going to put the details. You know, what recipe am I going to use? What ingredients do I need? My next main idea might be my main course. You know, same thing, what's going to be over here. It can be used to represent a broader unit of study. So let's say over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be covering a particular topic. I can place the overall topic up here across the top. I can list for the students the bigger subtopics that we're going to be covering over the next 3 weeks. And over on the right is where I can begin to add the details of the information that we're going to cover. So it can be used for a lot of different things. I also want to point out that when we're using notes from narrative text, from stories, or a series of events, the notes often are organized around what we would call literary elements. So again, I might, let's say in broader terms, I might have the name of my short story across here, and I might have the major literary elements. So setting, and then details about the setting. Characters, a list of the characters. Theme, you know, details of 1 or 2 of the major themes. So that's sort of a broad picture. But I also can drill down on any one of those literary elements. So let's say I decide I want to drill down on characters. So I might put the name of a particular character across here. And the first item that I might have would be, let's say, physical attributes about the character. And those details would go here. And then my next thing might be emotional aspects of the character, and that the details would go here. Or my next item might be, how did the character change throughout the story? And the details would go over on the right. So we can use it for narrative as well. We also can use it for vocabulary. In the key vocabulary routine, it's one of the templates we use that help students learn everything about a word. When we use it that way, we put our vocabulary word here, and over on the right are all the details about the word, not just its definition, but also its antonyms, synonyms, its use in a sentence, maybe even a visual picture of the word. So we can use these in lots of different ways. The last thing that I wanted to mention is the connection between two-column notes and the top-down topic webs. So we've been showing how we start with our main ideas on the left side. If we already have a related top-down topic web where we've got our overall topic and we've got these, you know, big subtopics that we're introducing to students, preferably as a before strategy. Here are the 4 big ideas you're going to learn about in this article. Then it makes it very easy to basically just kind of put this on its side, and now the main ideas move over to the right column, and we've got space to add our details. So that's basically the format for two-column notes.